Well, when Gulte actually approached me to do this chat show for them, I remember them telling me that you have to do Tamannaah Bhatia's interview. Today I'm sitting with somebody who has actually done what I tried doing, which is a crossover many years ago, and successfully so. Sitting with me today is Tamannaah Bhatia, who's also a friend of mine. Finally, we are doing this meeting after COVID.
Yes.
Although we've been talking about doing this, but finally I'm so happy that we are doing this.
I'm so happy.
And what a year. I think in a year where you had two really big releases, so much love coming your way. Honestly, I loved Plan A, Plan B.
Thank you.
I think it is such a lovely movie. And I think it's such a relevant film, you know. Yeah. Everybody's going through something like that in their own lives. I want to know that you started off really young and without any industry pedigree, having any godfather to piggyback on. How did things actually happen? And you started from South again. How did that happen?
I think my journey's been really unique. The only thing that was very sure in my head was that I wanted to become an actor, and that was at the age of 10 and 12. And how seriously should you take a person that young? I really credit my parents for being able to see the fact that I had the potential, the aptitude, and also just the enthusiasm and the work that it takes. But I think I stuck it out because there were, I worked through my 10th standard, I worked through my 12th standard, and they were watching this happening to me and opportunities coming my way, I taking them up regardless of being in my board examinations, regardless of being in the middle of 10,000 other things which are, at that time you're like, 10th to pass karna chahiye. Like, like as
but
a parent.
But you were a studious child.
So I wasn't a studious kid, but I was like committed. So, I was like, okay, I have taken up this, I can't not finish it, or I have to make sure I do it properly. But it was like, it was a plunge. But I'll tell you one thing, Nayandeep, I don't think I was ever ready for any of the big life plunges I made. Because I wasn't prepared in any capacity. How prepared can a 14-year-old, 15-year-old be? Like I remember my first director, we were doing like a slightly romantic scene, and he was like, ये तो 15 साल की बच्ची है, मैं इसको कैसे बताऊँ कि romance क्या होता है? I was like, sir, मैंने सारी फिल्में देखी है माधुरी दीक्षित की, मुझे सब आता है. So I was one of those who really I thought I knew it all at that age. So I recently revisited one of my my first interview in life. And I saw my face and the conviction. I was shitting in my pants, I'm sure. But I had the most confident face on, and I was like, I don't know what was in me at that age. And I think that just, then came experience. So I kept working. Every opportunity taught me something.
Yeah.
And when you don't have a godfather, or when you don't have someone guiding you through, the industry you're working in, I definitely had parents who helped me take rational decisions. So, but creatively, they always left the ball in my court. So creatively, whatever, it was always me deciding what I wanted to do. But it was interesting that the South actually accepted me really quickly, and Telugu and Tamil films all of a sudden just felt like they took me as a Telugu girl, they took me as a Tamil girl, and what I did, which was I think the right thing to do at that point, and I did it out of just sheer passion for what I do, but I learned both the languages as I went on doing every film, and I felt like that got me closer to my audiences. So I think it became organic, where demand came out of an audience appreciation, and I think there's nothing bigger when the audience likes you.
And the audience wanted to see you in more and more films.
Absolutely, and that's what took me ahead, gave me another opportunity, then gave me another opportunity, and then of course translating those opportunities. But I don't think मैंने इतना कुछ सोचा था. I was just having a ball of a time. I was like, मेरे को कैमरे के भी, I'm in front of the camera, I'm going to dance today. Today I'm going to dress up. Today I'm going to look like this, I'm wearing this outfit, so let me put these shoes on. So this was, I got a chance to channel all that.
How did the first offer come? Was it accidental?
So I was in school, I was performing on stage, and the producer of the film was in the audience because his kids were also performing. So he saw me and he was like, I'm going to shoot a film, I would like you to audition. And I was like, I also have a ready battery. So I went to audition and I did an audition, and I had this really stunning lady auditioning with me. And I think if I'm not wrong, she's a fairly popular face right now in TV. And sorry, I can't remember her name. But she was a gorgeous young lady, much older than me. So I was really daunted by the fact like I'm this 15-year-old child who's sitting and about to give an audition, and there's this really stunning looking woman going to do the same audition. So my mom took me. I was like, Mom, I need to rehearse. So I took my mother into a loo, and I just rehearsed all my lines, and I've given the audition. And of course, I got the movie. So, and nobody saw the film because it was a really bad film.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think it even saw the day of light properly, which is good. I'm not complaining.
But it did release.
It did release, but like survived for 2 days, I think, in the theatre. Yeah.
But there was a Tamil film that you did simultaneously.
This was a Hindi film. That was my first film. But my first Telugu film...
Hindi film was your first film?
Yeah. My first film was a Hindi film. The story that I told you was a Hindi film audition.
Which movie was this? What was it?
It was called Sa Roshan Chehra.
Okay, then I
now I feel like that was like cheese burst loaded pizza. It was like that. But yeah, my first Telugu film, of course, was
a huge hit.
No, it was not my first film. It was my fifth film that did well.
No, but I've been told that in the first film, you were so young, but people actually really loved you, and then there were multiple film offers from different industries that had come to you.
I mean, although my first few films didn't do well, I think people saw potential, and they could see that the audience took liking to me. So I think the offers were just organically coming through.
And then you jumped between industries as well, you know.
Yeah.
Today it's become a patent thing, and even when today I'm speaking like this, I've also actually done a crossover, so to say. But you've done it at a time when it was not even the norm.
Yeah.
There were very few Indian actors who were actually attempting it. And then there were very fewer Indian actors, producers, audience giving respect to regional films. I come from Calcutta. Today, the amount of respect that is given to a regional film compared to what it was back then, I see a hell and heaven difference.
Yeah.
Do you notice that?
Oh, you won't believe it, man. I think it would be rather very boisterous of me to say I was one of the few people who started it, but I can definitely say that it was probably the likes of Shri ma'am and Jayaprada ma'am and that generation where there weren't pan-India heroes, but there were pan-India actresses.
Yeah.
I think the females kind of started it because
Absolutely,
at that point,
you're so right.
So they were the ones who actually started that, because that time a lot of South Indian films used to be remade into Hindi. And I was at one of these award functions where I saw Govinda sir talking, and he was kind of explaining how all the films that he did, which were all big blockbusters, they were all remakes of South films. And then they were remade into Hindi. And of course, then there was this exchange of female actors because they were anyway doing the South Indian version. So I guess they would do a lot of the North as well. So I think the crossover was made long back. I just felt for me what happened is I was linguistically inclined. I enjoyed learning new languages. I was good at it. So it felt organic for me to kind of attempt different languages. And I never shied away from it. It is very daunting for a lot of actors to, get a dialogue paper in the morning and they can't understand what they're going to say, and it can throw you off. But for me, I think it felt like a challenge, and I kind of found ways of learning the language. And I'm doing my first Malayalam film, so I'm again feeling like a newcomer because I'm again with a new language. But it's fun because, I guess this never ends. And the beauty is this whole nervous energy which kind of propels you to take these risks and take these plunges that you might never really be ready for.
But Tamannaah, one thing that happened, I remember before your Hindi debut was happening, like according to Wikipedia also it says that Himmat Wala was your Hindi...
Since when do you trust what is written in the media?
That's also true. That's also true. We were just having a discussion about so many things. That's true. We'll come to that as well. But everybody thought that was your debut. I'm pretty sure 90% of audience watching it also will get a shock.
Yeah.
But
sure.
When you were coming back then with that movie, that Hindi film, you were considered a female superstar from South of India. There was an added pressure on you to deliver. Did you feel it? Or did it make you very happy because you've already made your mark in the South film industry?
No, it felt like a great opportunity. It was interesting because there was a phase where there was Ajay, there was Akshay, there was Saif, and I was working with all three at the same time. Unfortunately, I don't think those were the best of. I probably one of the not maybe they're not so good films also. I think except for entertainment, I remember gets a lot of love even today.
It was a
A
sweet
lot of
film.
people remember it for the subject and how it was made. But yeah, I think it on the face of it felt like a great opportunity. There was a pressure. I think also um, I spent too much time working in the South, so my understanding of cinema had gotten a bit limited. I didn't kind of fully equip myself to what it takes to reach out to a larger audience. Although it felt natural to me because I'm from Mumbai.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I felt like sometimes it's not a bad thing to be prepared. I feel like today's actors have that edge because everyone has gone to 10,000 classes. They're all educated in some way or the other in terms of film, and they've had a lot of. My experience was just on set, which is supposed to be a lot, but I still feel like yeah, there was a lot of pressure, and unfortunately, none of that did well. So it was a bit of a blow.
I want to come to that.
Yeah.
That when you are already considered the female superstar from a particular film industry or film industry, so to say, when you come back here and then you have to deal with a little bit of a failure,
Yeah.
that can give you a little bit of a jerk in
Yeah.
life
Yeah.
and in your head. Did you feel that? As actors, you are often feeling that and you can't even show it on camera. So did it become increasingly difficult also to deal with that?
So it was really hard for me to come to terms that like 3 of these really big films, none of it had really done anything for me. But what I did in turn is I kept working on things that excited me. I'm not someone who takes my success and failure too seriously, because even by then I had seen a lot of my South films also not do well. So for me, failure wasn't new. And I wasn't averse to the idea of failure, or it wasn't like the first time I was failing. So I'd failed a bunch of times before. So, and I also felt like a film failing is not an individual failing, it is a project not working out. So I never took it personally, and I tried to do different things, and exactly then is when Bahubali happened. And sometimes they say, when you're at your lowest low, sometimes the best thing happens to you and you might not even know it's the best thing that's happening to you. So I feel like I think my story is largely fairy tale, because every time there is a substantial low, there's also substantial high that comes to to me. So yeah, I think Bahubali then was it engulfed me completely, even creatively, because it was so new to attempt. So I don't think by then nobody was worried about failure. You were like, "Arey, shot kaise karenge? This is so technical. This is so difficult. There's so much green mat. It's a whole new world. It's a whole new technique of functioning. How do you do that?" And then just working with the likes of Rajamouli sir and the entire team of Bahubali.
Yeah, what a film!
It was just an experience to learn so much from.
Now I'll tell you something, and the Telugu audience should know this, that Bahubali released in 2015.
Yeah.
That was the first year that I had come to Bombay. I came to Bombay in 2014. Relatively young, of course, very junior in position wherever I was working. So we were sent for this group interview with Rajamouli sir.
Lovely.
And for the first time ever, the PR team had called us and said that they had called 40 people and 30 of them didn't turn up.
Okay.
Because they just didn't know
Know
the
who he
idea of who he was. And then we got, like, when we had 15-minute slots, we got a 45-minute slots.
Amazing.
With the man. And oh my God, what an interview. Like, it was for print. It was a print interview with 4 journalists.
Lovely.
Because we were like only 10 of us. So we divided us, like we were divided into 3 groups and we divided the whole time and we got so much time. Today, look at what has happened.
They would
People
all
are
die.
craving
They would
for
be
his
crying.
time.
They'd be crying. They'd be like, why did I miss that day?
But that is karma, no? That's how life works, is what I feel. I always bring out this example when they talk about South films doing so well and this recognition that they're getting. I want to ask you that more often than not, whenever I've spoken to actresses who have worked in South industries and sometimes not delivered with their movies at the box office, they've been called names.
Yeah.
They've been called Iron Leg and all that. Did you face that at any given point in?
I think whenever my films did not do well, there was a section of audience that will say that, that she's not lucky for, these. And the funniest part is they'll say she's not lucky for this hero, which is really strange. But I think just like many other film, like leading ladies, I've been through that same thing. But I think I never stuck to working only in the typical formula action movies.
Yeah.
I kind of moved slowly and steadily into parts that, you know, gave me my due and had something for me to do. And I also embraced OTT way before the pandemic. Like, I shot 2 shows, or I rather greenlit 2 shows before the pandemic, and then it all released during the pandemic, which was great because that's when people were watching. So I was never averse to change. In fact, I took that up as an opportunity again. Like, I feel like that's what, when we speak
Yeah.
about people, like, you might think something that's happening is not so great or not so big or not so, you know, meaty to look at. But I think sometimes those are the opportunities that translate and become, you know, life-changing.
When Bahubali came to you, you said that you were at a point where you were at your lowest.
Yes.
Why did you take it up? Did you already see the vision that he had? Did you already see the pan-India Renaissance that was coming? Or did you do it because you felt that this is going to give you an opportunity which was missing in all those years that...
So when I met, actually, I don't know how I got on board, but like, I remember going to Bahubali set to meet Sweetie, Anushka and Rana, because they were filming and I was filming in the next studio for another film. So I went to say hi to them. And then I bumped into Shobhu sir, who's our producer. And then next day I get a call for Abantika's part. And I go meet Rajamouli sir and I'm like, acha, ye log cameo ke liye bula rahe, because 1.5 years they're shooting for the film. So I was like, they made the film, now they're probably calling me to just do one, like, a little cameo appearance. So I went to meet Rajamouli sir like that, and then he was like, listen, there's this entire part which is the female lead in the first part of the film. So we had not even heard of first part and second part at that point of time. The idea of having 2 parts of a movie was like, it was huge. Like, I didn't even know how that's supposed to be conducted. But he said, okay, so we have 2 parts. You're in the first part, and there's Anushka in the second part. But of course, she's there in the first part as well, but as the older version. So I was like, great. So when I started to hear the story, and he went on to say, you're a warrior princess, and I was like, warrior princess? We haven't heard these type of characterizations for female actors. Like, I had not come across anything like that. And what was beautiful was the world was so rooted into India. It wasn't aspiring to be the West in any way.
Yeah.
It was so earthy, the entire world, and it was so magical because he explained to me my introduction that, you know, there'll be butterflies the moment you, you know, your introduction happens, and you're like you're the hero's imagination.
Yeah.
And
Khwahish, that's true.
Yeah, and desire. It's like my name. Bye. So yeah, so I mean, just I remember his narration just blew me. I was like, what is this? Like, something has just fallen into my lap. I was like, hell yes, I'm definitely doing this. I didn't even think I thought as much. I just heard these things that really made me feel something, like a man leaping off a cliff for a girl.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of feeling she invokes in him. And if a director thinks that I can be that lady who can invoke that feeling in a man, who's gonna अलग-अलग पहाड़ चढ़ के वो मुझे मिलने आने वाला है. So I was like, man, this is going to be something larger than life.
Also, you played a warrior princess, like you said. You were majorly part of all the action sequences in part 1.
Yes.
Do you feel that somehow, when you said that, you know, these kind of parts were not written for women,
yeah,
is it also because after a point, did you feel saturated with the kind of roles that were being written for you and for women in general?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I was anyway cut out for that. Like, I think I keep saying this in interviews that, you know, I think I started off being an actor and became a star thanks to the love that a lot of my audience gave me, and I'm eternally grateful for that. But I feel like somewhere that just the sheer, you know, environment of commercial films somewhere really made me miss that actor in me. And then I think these films and then certain more films actually helped me kind of explore that, and I became very, very aware of that fact soon after Bahubali. I was like, I think I'm undermining my own potential. And I think a lot of women, not just the film industry, but women in general, have this thing of, you know, apologizing for everything that they do, undermining their own capabilities, and sometimes it takes, you know, you have to either be told by someone like, look, listen, you can do this, and sometimes it's a self-awakening where you realize that, you know what am I even doing?
Yeah.
And I felt like 2 things happened to me. One was like filmmakers started telling me that, listen, there's so much more in you, and Raj sir was one of those first few people who did that for me. And then even I realized, I was like, I'm not even enjoying this kind of space which is just typical. And there's so much more to me that I want people to see.
There's a tag given to every other actor and actress, especially in the South. And for the longest time, people actually call you the Milky Beauty. I don't know if they still call you that there. But
that's what my friends tease me.
Yeah, it's weird. It's borderline weird beyond the point. Did you ever, what was your first reaction when you were called this, and when did this start?
This started, I think, so in the South, they have a habit of giving everyone titles.
Yeah.
Basically, every actor or every star rather has a title.
Yeah.
So if they love you to a certain degree, they give you a title. So mine was Milky Beauty, which apparently is just how they perceive me. But yeah, I mean, I think it comes from the fact that I'm the color I am. But I feel like that's not the reason I'm in their hearts for sure. You know,
absolutely not.
I know that there's so much more, that there has been an exchange of, and as an artist, I feel like sometimes people know you, but you might not know them, and I feel like I understand that dynamic between a star and an audience, and I do interact with a lot of my fans who come to meet me on sets, and we interact, and I get to talk to them, and I get to know how they feel, and some of them just genuinely adore me for the work I do, and I feel like I would like to hold those voices more closely to my heart, and I would like to shun out the haters, because haters gonna hate.
But how do you deal with haters?
You don't deal with them. That is what you do.
Does it? But as a human being,
yeah.
Somewhere down the line it does bother you on days. Like it could just pinch you.
My question is very simple. Supposing I read a comment I don't like, and I love reading comments.
Okay.
I am that person.
Great.
On a given day, I will be the one reading.
And read everything.
Just let's have fun. Let's read what they've written. So I will read, and then I will be like, just imagine who is writing this. So I also understand that I think every human being has their own story, right? Like they have their own complexities. And they write from there. Every comment tells a story about that person and less about what I am. So I think as much as they're trying to write about me, I'm kind of reading more into how they are. So, hey, it's a two-way street. You didn't know that.
But you've never even...
I'm judging you too.
That's true. I to judge them every time. But have you ever given it back?
There's nothing to give back. I have nothing to give back except for love. Because I have got too much love in my life from every avenue. So I am too loved to give back anything except that. And it's not I'm not trying to be goody two shoes. It's not about that. It's actually really not about that, because I just feel like, I don't know, it does nothing. It's just hating on people is just so pointless. There's enough problems in life. There's enough negativity around there. Everyone's done and dusted with negativity. The 2 years that we've had has been terrible.
Oh goodness.
So I think the one thing we can do, they say, I had this conversation with one of the lovely people I work with, and they were like, what kind of a partner should one find in life? And it is one of the strangest qualities that the person mentioned, and she said that a person should be kind.
I would say the same.
Yeah, so it's not about, should have this, should have that, should have this, that. The person said the person should be kind. And it really got me thinking. I'm like, yeah, man, if the person is kind, then the person is everything. So why not be kind in this world where there's enough shit? Sorry, pardon my language. There's enough like drama going on. Why would you add to that?
It's so true, because I believe in the same
क्योंकि हम free में नहीं करते, हम पैसे लेके drama करते हैं.
That's true, and I do feel that you are absolutely right. This is something that I keep telling people. I always tell that even journalism has reached a level where today if I write that Tamannaah Bhatia was the worst in this movie, that will get maximum views. And people will suddenly think that I am a very brave journalist and I'm the righteous journalist and XYZ. But if you are actually good, and I say that, oh, I really liked her,
then they'll think I paid you to write it.
Kindness is so undermined and judged. It is so sad. I've been told that you are nice to everybody. So what am I supposed to do? I'm gonna
Just
call
be
people
bad.
who are genuinely like my friends and say and abuse them on the show like, oh, I don't like you at all. So I'm like, what are you even expecting people
No,
to
that
do?
would be too direct. They want you to do it slyly.
And it's,
Yeah, it's like very subtle.
that doesn't happen. Doesn't happen only. It's
I
all
know
there.
you, Nayandeep. I know.
It's all there in my face.
I know that. It's highly impossible.
Again, when you worked in the industry, you have worked with generations. Like you worked with Chiranjeevi Garu,
Yeah.
you worked with Ramcharan, you worked with Nagarjuna Garu, and you worked with Che also, if I'm not
Yeah.
wrong. So you have actually worked with generations.
Very versatile of me.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
No, I think I just started off really young. So it's been 17 years since I'm working. So I had the opportunity of working with different actors of different age groups, and I still continue to do so. I just feel like what's important for me is not just working with all different kind of actors, but also kind of revamping myself every time I work with someone, because I feel like at the end it is a give and take. When you work with a certain actor, a certain energy comes on board. Like I remember when I worked with Charan, the kind of chemistry that we had, or the kind of screen presence that we had, it was one of my most memorable films. Although it was touted to be a very typical masala film, but even in masala films, there's some films that are very well made and they do very well. And the reason is because it's authentic even in its masala-ness, So I've done those, and I think that needs a lot more conviction than something that's realistic, because sometimes the writing helps you to do a lot of things. But those films are literally based on actors' conviction. So as an actor, you invest a lot more in those films. So yeah, I loved, and now I'm working with Chiranjeevi sir again. I'm doing a film called Bhola Shankar, which is with Meher Ramesh directing me, and I'm super excited about this film because I have this massive song which I'm really, really excited to be a part of. Probably the best song of my career, I hope.
Oh wow, when are you shooting it?
Soon, very, very soon. So I'm very excited about it.
When you work with these generations, like different generations, do you see sense of difference in their approach, like between Ramcharan and maybe a Chiranjeevi Garu and a Nag sir and Che?
Oh, you'd be surprised. I think Charan and Che are two of the most dignified men I have met in my career.
Both of them.
They both are just like their dignity personified. Like, and I think I often meet Nag sir and I'm like, you know what? I have to give it up to you guys for your upbringing, because at the end, children are somewhere a reflection of their parents. And both Chiranjeevi sir and Nag sir, they both are, they're just so dignified and they're so welcoming and they're so warm. And it's not a fake warm. I've met them now, I've seen them for so many years that I feel like कितना फेक कर सकता है इंसान, एक दिन, 2 दिन, 4 दिन, बट सालों तो नहीं फेक कर सकता. So I believe that they're genuinely two of the most warmest families I've come across, and you can see it, like if there's something in the blood, then it's probably just the dignity with which they hold themselves.
And then you played heroine to Prabhas in a movie like Bahubali, which I think revolutionized Indian cinema, and I think it paved way for a pan-India film industry. No distinction like Bollywood, Tollywood, Collywood, Mollywood, nothing.
Yeah.
I think it was the germ. It was the germ, and everybody will agree. But Prabhas is known to be a very different person on the sets from what his public persona and his media persona is.
Yeah.
I've heard several stories about how wicked his sense of humor is.
Yeah.
And I've also heard that he is a person who will make you fat by feeding you.
Yeah. I think like a lot of Telugu food is coming your way if you're going to work with him. That is for sure.
It's apparently 30.
It's just unreal. Like, it's not humanly possible to eat that kind of food, but you will be showered with that kind of food. And Prabhas is actually very unaware of the impact he has on people. So, and he doesn't realize the stardom that he holds around himself. He has no clue. So I think that's what people really love him for, that he's oblivious of how insanely magnetic he is. So I think that's his beauty, that's his charm.
Absolutely. Also, female friendships are hardly discussed.
Yeah.
And like I discussed with you, I think that female actors are way more secure than male actors, is what I believe. And I'm saying it from a media perspective also. I do when I speak to people, I think female actors are so much more secure. They have less questions related to who's doing what and X, Y, Z. I feel that that's the best thing.
Yeah.
Do you sense that? Has there ever been moments where you've been on a set and you've seen the difference being meted out to a male actor and a female actor?
I think there's too much of a notion that female actors are like, you know, always like against each other. But I've had some of the best experience with female actors on board. Like I remember working with Nayanthara. It's a film I did with Chiranjeevi sir only.
Yeah.
And I think we had such an amazing, you know, time shooting that film and, you know.
Saira.
Yes. Yeah. It was beautiful. I had so much fun working on that. And Shruti and I, of course, haven't really worked together before, which is strange because I really hope someone at some point casts us together because it would be,
we'll put it.
Let's manifest it. Let's manifest it because I think it'd be fab. But we're like such dear friends, and Kajal and I, like, I think even we've been working for so many years now. But now we are like, now it's just like we're more talking about like she has had a baby. So we are, you know, so many different conversations that go on, which is so lovely. And yeah, it's actually nothing like what people think. In fact, I remember Shruti and me like laughing about, sometimes people think like, so many of the projects that come to me, she ends up doing. And many of the projects that come to her, I end up doing.
Oh, lovely.
There was this one exchange going on at one point, you know, that she was like, "Acha, main nahi kari na, to tere paas aane wala hai." And that used to actually happen.
Which are the movies? I want to know now.
Abhi to mujhe yaad bhi nahi hai, but like the lot, and it's been a while because there was a phase we were literally like contemporaries. Like literally, if not me, then her, then me. That was how it was.
But don't you feel that media tries to pit actresses so much, not knowing that they could be friends in real life?
Yeah, they don't know. It's lovely. Like someone talks to. There has been times someone has bitched me out to Shruti, and Shruti's come and told me.
Love it.
And it's been vice versa, and we're like, "Ye kya hua?" And it happens the other way around. Also, like people have come and spoken to me, and I'm like, "You guys have no clue that we are friends." And also, because I think people think that she's so different and I'm so different, and we have very different personalities, and how the hell are we friends? But I guess it's nice. It's nice.
You're also good friends with Samantha, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, yes.
Because I saw you. I think she was doing a show.
Yeah.
And you,
and
the Sam Jam thing,
yes.
and you were there, and
yeah.
I hardly understood what you guys were speaking
yeah.
because you were speaking in Telugu. But I read comments and I could see the energies.
Yeah. So Sam and I are those friends. You know, we don't talk all the time, but when we talk, we're talking about like life. Like big stuff. We never talk like normal. We don't have like, hey, what are you doing? That conversation never happens. We're directly talking at like level 10. But yeah, I think she and I have always had. I don't know. There's always been a sense of security. You know, be it Kaj or Sam, we've always been just in a very good space in our own spaces, and we've related to each other as people.
Yeah.
Because that's what we primarily are. Apart from being actors, because this is a job, this is what we do for a living.
Yeah.
Of course, we're extremely passionate about it, but that doesn't change the fact that, you know, nobody's taking this anywhere. So, yeah, so I think I've had this really amazing camaraderie with most people because we're quite kind of just secure in what we do.
When we talk about Sam, you know, recently she announced that
Yes.
she's been diagnosed with myositis. Not many people actually knew about the disease. It's an autoimmune disease, and it is very difficult to live with.
Yes.
And but you can fight it, and she's a brave warrior.
Absolutely.
It's not impossible. It's a difficult disorder, like painful, but you can fight it out, and which she wonderfully does. And I keep, you know, whenever I read something, I send it to her. Whenever there's something that I really need to speak, I do tell her. And she recently told me that in all my interviews, you know, I've been noticing that you've been asking everybody about me in all your interviews, which is so sweet. So I will of course ask you, because when you heard it, you are a friend.
Yeah.
It came as a shock to people who didn't even know her.
Yeah.
How did you react to her?
No, I was very disturbed. I was very, very disturbed for very many days for the simple reason that, fortunately or unfortunately, our job's very physical. And our job is very much in the public eye, and how we look, how we appear, how we feel, all that matters. And you know, it takes a lot of grit, it takes a lot of strength to fight all of that and stay strong. And she used to be, so when I had COVID, I had been hospitalized. And I was on steroid medication, which had made me put on a little bit of weight. And you know, just like the haters would, they were like, "Very moti ho gayi hai," and all that. And Sam was one of the few people, she was like, what are you doing? Why aren't you like giving it back to them? And like, why aren't you talking about it? So she's someone who's always been very vocal about how she feels, and I admire that about her. I think that's very brave of her, and it's very hard for an actor to take their vulnerable self and put it out there and put it in the most authentic fashion, and she does it beautifully, and she's a brave heart. So I know this is just a phase in her life which will, I mean, it's been a difficult time for her, but I think it'll pass, because I think that's what happens to brave people. They sail through these things, and she will.
And apart from all these, what are the movies that you have, what are the projects that you have in hand, and what are you looking forward to doing?
Oh, I have a good bunch. So I have a show coming up called G Karda, that's with Amazon.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited about it because Maddock is producing it, Arunima Sharma is directing it. It's her directorial debut, but I think she's superbly talented, and I think she's definitely going to surprise a lot of people with what show she's made. And there's another show which I'm doing for Hotstar. It's not been announced, so I can't talk about it. But
In
that
what
show
space?
It's you're tempting me to spill out beans. It is in thriller space, but it's not been announced, so I really can't talk about it.
Oh, I know this.
You know this, right? Okay, good.
I know this. It's with my friends.
Oh, nice.
Mhm.
But it's a good show. I'm again
It
very
is
excited
a
about
killer show.
It's so I'm at these two shows which I'm
And
really,
you
really
are
excited
playing
about
a
it.
very, very good role. How did I forget it? Should have done the math. I forgot.
Yeah, so that's another announcement that's hopefully coming out soon. And I did just shot for Lust Stories with Sujoy sir and Vijay. It was such a fun experience to kind of work in Sujoy sir's work in his world, because his films are something that I've really enjoyed.
Yeah.
I've admired, and I took this up like a, at some point you want to go to an acting workshop as an actor. You're like, मुझे ना सीखना है अभी acting, मुझे अभी films के बारे में सीखना है. And I was like, these two people I want to work with just to experience. And it was fantastic to be a part of their world. So yeah, Love Stories is also on your way. There's Bhola Shankar, which is a film with Chiranjeevi sir, reuniting after Saira, which I'm super excited about. It's a mass masala film, and I'm just excited to do these really like humongous dance numbers, because I'm like this.
You're a trained dancer. You're
I
lovely.
love dance. I love dancing. I'm not a trained dancer, but I just love it. It's just something that touches my soul and makes me feel like alive. So dancing is something that I particularly enjoy. So Bhola Shankar, and I'm doing a little bit of a cameo in Rajini sir's film. It's called Jailer, but it's again going to be an exciting one. And I have my first Malayalam film. It's called Bandra.
Bandra.
It's called Bandra. Like Bandra, like.
You shooting here or you shooting there?
We've shot there, but it's set in a time which is very relevant to people who live in Mumbai.
So who all are there with you in that film?
So it's Dileep sir who is acting in the film, and Arun Gopi sir is directing this film. And it's funny, but I remember giving Arun Gopi sir an award for one of his previous films. And right after that, presenting an award at a function. So right after that, it's so nice to work with them, and I've actually had a fantastic time working with them.
You spoke about a time when you were a little caged about certain things, and you said that I had my do's and don'ts, and I didn't want to do, and I didn't want to do this,
Sure.
I didn't want to do that. And you also said that there was a point where you decided that no, this is not what I'm going to restrict myself to. Today you're doing a show like Lust Stories,
Yeah.
right? It's again in the space where in the name only it's lust, right? And we've loved part one. Of course, it will be like spicy and it will be like amazing because Sujoy Da is, I feel, I'm a biased Bengali, but I feel that he's one of the best, finest, and the most creative filmmakers that
Absolutely.
we have.
Absolutely.
How was it shooting with Sujoy Da and with Vijay?
Both. I think Vijay Varma and Sujoy Ghosh are two people I admire creatively, beyond words. And I feel like just being in, working with them, collaborating with them, I think we've created something that I think I'm going to be very, very excited to share with everyone. So it is, of course, it is Love Stories, and it is, this super exciting, franchise of films that people have seen before. So you're going to get the same kind of fun this time, but in a absolutely different kind of storytelling. And who doesn't like a fun story, and I think everyone's attention span has become so chota that this is it's a good watch.
What is your idea of love?
I think love is thinking of someone before you think of yourself.
And now I will come to what I want to ask you.
Yes.
You know, as an actor, there are times when, unfortunately, your private life becomes a public spectacle, or sometimes it's overtly public. Do you think it bothers you at any given point where I feel like even if you want to have a golgappa, you can't do it because there are like cameras everywhere? Does it bother you?
No, I think I've, like some people kind of are either from the film industry or they come from outside. I don't know what to call myself because I've literally grown up in the film industry.
Yeah.
Like from 15 to now in my 30s, I just feel like for me, interacting with media or interacting with, media personality or like yourself or anyone, it just feels like home. So I do understand the inquisitiveness that people have towards an actor's personal life because that's fun for people to know. It's great chat that people have on the dinner table. So I know we make great food for that. But yeah, I think I've just lived my life the way I wanted to live. And yeah, I just do what I do anyway.
Thank you so much. Like I said that, I have met you years ago and I meet you today also. Whenever we meet, it's the same amount of warmth and it is difficult. You said now that, pangs of stardom can hit anybody, but I'm glad that it's not hit you. And yes, what do you look for a person to be with? Like your friend said, it has to be kind.
Kindness.
I feel that what do I look for a person to just connect with? It has to be kindness. And I know that you are an extremely kind human being, a gifted actor.
Thank you.
And a very, very strong face of change in the industry. So
thank you.
Thank you for doing this. It was a lot of fun.